the West, we can grow just about anything as long as we add enough water. After all, you turn on the spigot and water pours out, right? Stop for a moment, though, and think about where that water comes from and how far it travels to reach our farms and our gardens. California's fresh water mostly comes from rain and snow that falls onto 157 million acres of land in 8 states. These watersheds range from wilderness to urban landscape. There are 6 major water systems that move water up and down and across California using a vast and complicated network. The ability to move and deliver water from where it's plentiful to where it's lacking is what's helped California grow people, grow farms, and grow gardens. Where does our water come from? How does it travel to reach us? How reliable is that supply? We're following the path of water today on A Growing Passion. Southern California has 2 major water systems for importing water, the Colorado River Aqueduct System and the State Water Project System. Together, they move 4 million acre-feet of water to Southern California's 19 million residents every year. To understand where our water comes from, I visited the Colorado River. About a quarter of Southern California's fresh water comes from the Colorado River as it flows through California's desert.
The aqueduct starts here on the Colorado River at Lake Havasu. The aqueduct is 242 miles long and it delivers water into Southern California. This is the backbone of Southern California's water system. It's been operational since the early 1940s.
Water is collected behind the dam at Lake Havasu, where it's lifted and pumped into the aqueduct system. Huge motors drive pump shafts that spin turbines far below the surface of the lake. They draw in about 1.25 million acre-feet of water every year.
What we see here are the delivery lines for each one of those pumps that you saw in the pump house. There's 9 delivery lines here. There's a delivery line for each pump, and the total lift here is about 300 foot in elevation.
So how much water is going through this and how fast?
In each one of these delivery lines, we're moving about 250 cubic foot per second per delivery line.
So give me a visual, what would that be?
A visual might be 250 basketballs moving up the delivery line per second, each individual delivery line.
That's a lot of water.
That's a lot of water.
Wow. The water is lifted 4 more times as it makes its 242-mile journey to reservoirs near urban areas. From there, the water is gravity-fed throughout the southwestern region of the state. It's an impressive engineering feat. What gets moved also needs to be stored. That's the purpose of reservoirs like this one, Diamond Valley Lake near Hemet. This is one of the last stops before water goes on to urban areas.
This is the biggest addition to Southern California's water supply infrastructure in about 30 years. Diamond Valley Lake is the largest storage reservoir in Southern California and nearly doubles the region's surface water storage capacity.
What is this big concrete thing behind us?
That's the inlet outlet tower for Diamond Valley Lake. It's about 275 feet tall, and on the face of it you can actually see a pairs of holes that run the length of it. And those are really water valves in which we bring water into and out of the lake, depending on where lake levels are.
But those holes are completely exposed, so what's happening?
Well, it tells you the lake levels are down because of the drought. We entered the drought with the most storage we've ever had in Southern California, records amounts of storage at the beginning of 2013. We've been drawing on that water that we have stored here in Diamond Valley Lake over the past couple of years. And we're down about 150 feet, but that has helped us stave off going to allocations.
So this is kind of the extra that we've been using during this drought period.
It's played a huge role in addressing demands during the drought.
Reservoirs like Diamond Valley Lake and Lake Havasu behind Parker Dam buy us time when California experiences a drought. the Colorado has been a very reliable water supply for Southern California, supplementing an even larger water system, the State Water Project. Southern California receives about half its fresh water from snow and rainfall. I traveled to see that supply at the northern end of the State Water Project near Oroville. 2/3 of California's population lives in the southern part of the state, so that's where most of the water gets used. Of that, most of the water starts as snowpack in the Sierra Nevada mountains and is stored here behind Oroville Dam. Lake Oroville is a reservoir that holds up to 3.5 million acre-feet of water. An acre-foot can supply 4 households for a year. This is the cornerstone of the State Water Project, and where half of Southern California's fresh water supply starts its 700-mile journey through aqueduct and through pipe to the southern end of the state. The State Water Project was a massive public works project built in the 1950s and paid for by water users in Southern California. It's a system of natural watersheds and man-made structures that ensure a reliable water supply.
The majority of the water that's used in the state of California comes from California, and it comes from the north end of the state. The majority of the water that we move from Department of Water Resources through the State Water Project originates right here in Lake Oroville. We sit on the Feather River when our watershed is the Sierra Nevadas, and the majority of the water that we send is going to go for between 19 and 20 million people for drinking water. A little bit for growing food, but the majority is going to be for drinking water.
Jana, you know, I was here a couple of years ago, and the water was up to the tree line. Frankly, this is really scary.
It's very scary. It's also very critical because we don't like seeing the reservoir this way. Not in the beginning of winter. We should be twice of the water level that it is right now.
Why is it so low?
We're going on our 3rd year of drought. We're actually going to be starting our 4th year of no rain, no snow, or very little rain and still no snow. That's what's causing the lake level to look like that.
Drought is a reoccurring feature of California's climate. Whether there is much or little, conservation is key to keeping water flowing to our homes, our farms, and our gardens.
People truly did not understand the critical nature of the drought. We've never been here before, so this is a new experience for all of California. Even though we've been conserving water, we didn't conserve it quickly enough and to the right amounts. The bottom line is water conservation alone is not the only answer. There's got to be better storage. There's other issues that are involved with that. Conserving is going to go a long way. We should be conserving whether we're full or not.
Water released into the State Water Project also supports the habitats and the fisheries of the Feather River, the Sacramento River, and the Sacramento-San Joaquin Bay Delta. Water is critical for the natural habitats. Redirecting all of this water away from its natural course to serve human needs comes at a cost. The Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta is a natural wetland located between Sacramento and San Francisco. Amazingly, 40% of the state's watersheds drain through this delta. People can't live without water, and neither can plants, animals, or any other living things. The demand for a reliable water supply and the need to keep water in our ecosystems is a delicate balancing act that plays out largely here in the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta, the heart of California's north-south water system. This delta and its wide floodplain were once filled with fish and birds and plants and other wildlife. Around the time of California's gold rush, settlers began to build levees. They channeled the Sacramento and the San Joaquin rivers, and eventually they changed the natural flow of water through the Bay Delta. Levees channeled the water towards a pumping station in the lower delta. That pumping station reverses the flow of the water and pushes it into a system of canals and aqueducts that direct the water to Southern California. What remains of the fresh water dilutes the seawater that naturally flows into the delta too. Farmers use the fresher water to irrigate crops, while plants and wildlife are adapted to that flow of fresh and salt water. This is an environment that has been completely altered. the stability of the system is precarious at best. This was once a vast estuary. Starting around the 1860s, people started coming in and scraping the soil to make these levees, to direct the water away and expose land for farming. The problem is, peat soil exposed to air decomposes in place, so the land started to subside, in some places 10 or 20 or 30 feet. The levees aren't reinforced. So what happens if there's an earthquake or other natural disaster? The system could collapse. To stabilize the system, one idea is to build tunnels to bypass the aging levee system. Diverting water from this environment is not without critics. These tidal systems are incredibly diverse ecosystems with critical habitat for fish, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and plants.
We're in the North Delta in one of the few remaining vestiges of natural habitat.
So this is what the delta looked like before we came in and started changing it around.
Before man came in and started building levees, the delta was about 400,000 acres of what you see right here.
But the State Water Project is relatively recent in the delta, right?
That's correct. The intent was to continue to foster economic growth in California. We were having shortages of supply. We needed an area of abundance, Northern California, where we have a lot of water, and to be able to transport that water to areas of need, the Bay Area, Central Valley, and Southern California.
Why is there a water project here?
Because this is the low point. This is for about 40% of the state's drainage area. All of that water drains to this point here in the Delta. We could build pipelines and canals that would reach way up into Northern California to transport water, but you would forego all of the recreational as well as environmental uses of that water as it travels down rivers and channels into the Delta. So by allowing it to stay in the river, you get multiple uses of that water.
So how far is this marsh?
It's only about 30 yards.
A great deal of effort and money has been invested in restoring habitat in the Delta. Restoration efforts focus on revegetating tule marshes as fish habitat and for other environmental services. There's no rattlesnakes out here, right?
No.
What's the value of tule marsh to this habitat, to people?
Well, there used to be thousands of acres of tule marsh, and so Curtis tried to restore a little patch of it here. But what used to happen is the water would come into this massive marsh plain, and it would exchange organic carbon, insects, nutrients with the aquatic environment. So basically fish food.
Oh, okay. And this is an extreme volume of material. So what else does it do for the environment?
Well, the tules are very good at capturing carbon out of the atmosphere and sequestering that. So it's a great way to counter global climate change by pulling carbon out of the atmosphere and sequestering that into the soil.
I thought it was rainforest that did that.
Rainforests do it, but tules actually, we think, do it better.
Humans have almost eliminated aquatic habitat in the Delta. Only 2% of the nearly 750 million acres of Delta habitat remain intact. Balancing healthy ecosystems with a stable water supply for farms and cities is an issue that California continues to struggle with. Will the Delta ever look like it did before people started changing it?
Absolutely not, and I don't think anybody in the system really expects that or wants that. I mean, I think basically when you look at the Delta, it's still one of the most productive agricultural systems in the state because it's on peat soil, very, very rich organic soil. And it's a major economic driver for this region. And so the idea is, where can we recreate some amount of ecosystem function? Where can we give a little bit back so that we can try to restore balance, so that we can try to figure out how to have thriving native ecosystems and native species, as well as a thriving ag economy? I guess the other way to put it is it's really almost an unanswerable ecological question, is how much is enough? How much habitat is enough?
The water we use for drinking is the same water we use for growing. Colorado River water allows agriculture to flourish in the driest places in California. Next, I visited Blythe in the Palo Verde Valley, where farms take water from the Colorado River. This area supplies the nation with the majority of its winter fruits and vegetables, more than $1 billion worth every year. Bart Fisher's family has been farming here for 3 generations. These farmers have one of the earliest claims to Colorado River water dating back to the 1800s. That long-time use entitled them to build this private diversion dam more than 60 years ago. From here, they divert water into irrigation ditches that flood irrigate their fields. I hear it. Oh, here comes the water.
This is what's wonderful about farming here in our valley, is that we have access to this resource. It's immediate, it's on demand. We give our irrigation district an order for water, and within a couple of days we were able to satisfy the needs of the crop.
And what are we irrigating today? What crops are we irrigating?
These are onions. They will be bulb onions.
Is it only onions that you're growing?
Oh no, we have a very diversified farm here. We grow lots of other vegetables such as melons, lettuce, broccoli in the winter. Alfalfa and cotton are also big crops for us, so we're very diversified, and that's one of the blessings of being a farmer in Southern California is we're harvesting something all year long.
Bart, how much of the country's food supply comes out of your valleys?
You know, speaking for the lower desert valleys, and those would be Coachella Valley, Imperial Valley, our valley here, and the Yuma Valley in Arizona, about 80% of all the fresh produce during the winter months is produced for the nation, and each one of those valleys is irrigated with Colorado River water.
So we are really dependent, especially in winter, on having that Colorado River water in
Absolutely
order to
right.
eat.
Absolutely right.
Vegetable crops have a priority for this water supply. This field of onions is irrigated about once every 2 weeks. Excess water drains directly back into the river through subsurface drainage. It's a unique feature of farms like this one that are immediately adjacent to the river, and it's a kind of irrigation that's surprisingly efficient. The field's pretty much full, almost full.
Not full, the water has met itself at the end of the field.
Oh, right.
And we will continue to build the water level in the furrows for about another 4 hours. And then the field will be ready to shut off. And the water that we've applied will soak across the bed. So all the onion roots have equal access to water. And then the water will percolate down in the soil. By morning, you'll come here and there won't be any water in the furrows.
Unlike urban areas where water is typically used once, then sent into the waste stream, here in this valley, water is used and reused over and over again. The folks downstream in the Imperial Valley irrigate using the water left over from Bart's farm.
So this reuse has been, critical, really, to all of us sharing the river and doing so in an equitable manner that serves multiple levels of our society, both the agricultural and urban.
I know people question the use of agricultural water, but it's really important that we grow our own food, isn't it?
Well, there are two issues. There's a food security issue that we produce what we eat, and that means we don't rely on someone who may be a potential adversary for our food supply. Then secondly, there's a food safety issue, especially in California. We're so regulated, so we produce the safest food and the most abundant food in the nation. And when you compare where there have been recalls of food that have been found contaminated, but more often than not, it's from a foreign producer. And so that food safety issue is something that should be in the calculus of supporting agriculture. You know, California agriculture is the single largest component of the California economy. So there are really very powerful economic arguments that would support, continuing California agriculture as it exists.
Imported water has allowed our cities, our farms, and our economy to grow. It's supported the way of life we've grown accustomed to, but that way of life may not be sustainable into the future. The challenge is to balance the demand for water. Clearly, we have to make changes. As individuals, we can look to our personal use, where one of the biggest opportunities is our gardens and landscapes. Del Mar is a city in Southern California. Here, as throughout California, landscapes beautify the community. They help maintain property values and they create wonderful spaces for people to enjoy. Keeping those landscapes green can take a lot of water. The average California home uses 70% of its water outdoors, mostly on lawns. So making water-wise choices in the garden is an important piece of California's water puzzle. Amelia, what was here before?
There was lawn.
The whole thing was lawn?
The whole thing was lawn, and then inside the wall was also lawn.
What made you decide to change it?
Well, first of all, I wanted to create a garden that had plants that are drought tolerant, and lawn doesn't make my list. I chose the plants, and I wanted to create a garden that also had a lot of color going, which lawn is kind of boring. I like to work with plants that has different color, different architecture, foliage, and so that's how the beauty of living in this climate and being able to use all these plants.
And what are the elements that make this garden water-wise?
Well, first of all, the plant material. They are very, very drought tolerant. Second of all is the soil. I really amended the soil when we started to do the garden. And then the irrigation system that delivers water right at the surface of the root. So that's where the plants need water. Plants don't need water on the foliage, they need water on the roots.
So you're using drip irrigation?
I use drip irrigation and then also mulch. My whole yard is mulched.
And the mulch holds the moisture in the soil?
Exactly, and also prevents weeds from germinating.
And then, do I remember you told me that you're collecting the water off your roof too?
Yes, so when I created this garden, there's only one downspout. Should I show it to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I only have one downspout in my whole front.
Yeah.
And I connected the downspout to a perforated pipe that runs through the entire surface of the garden. And if there were to have any water left, it would deliver the water at the end. But there was never water, which is a very simple thing that people should always think in creating gardens in this climate, how to capture the rainwater into the garden and how to direct it into the soil. Because the soil, good soil, has the ability to hold on to a lot of water, but you need to deliver the water there for the soil to hold on to it.
A single home with a water-wise landscape can save thousands of gallons of water every year. As millions of homes do the same, we take a step forward in freeing up that precious resource for other things that matter too, like the environment, our food supply, and future generations. Water travels far and at great cost to ensure a reliable supply to California. What nature provides isn't always predictable, so it's up to us to manage this resource wisely. So we have to learn to live with what we have, or less, in our homes and our businesses, our farms and our gardens. In order to have a dependable supply, we all have to do our part and make sure we never take this for granted. I'm Nan Sterman. See you next time on A Growing Passion.